We begin today with the hectic world of Nigerian politics, which is becoming increasingly frantic as the 2023 presidential election approaches, with mounting legal and leadership problems in the ruling APC party and the opposition PDP appearing to fall apart at the seams following a gale of defections and resignations, as well as a mounting crisis of confidence. So the two main political parties engaged in not just a fight to the finish against each other ahead of 2023, but an internecine war within themselves. In other words, as this day newspaper put it, a battle for survival amid a debilitating leadership and political crisis. That cannot be good news at all for their thousands of members, outrageously rich politicians and hugely ambitious aspirants who for the last few months have been engaged in heated and furtive negotiations in dark corners, preparing their arsenal for the election proper. Well, the first electoral test ahead of 2023 will come in 4 months in the Anambra State governorship election in November, and that too has become mired in conflict and controversy. Well, my first guest today, Chief Ben Etiaba, was a governorship aspirant in Anambra State under the banner of the APC party, but then he says he was written out of the equation without a proper primary election being held. He's now left the APC and is hoping to run in the November ballot under the banner of a yet-to-be-disclosed party. And Chief Ben Etiaba joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed.
Hello, Charles. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For joining us. Let me start by asking you what actually happened to you in the APC.
All right. 14 of us contested for the primaries, and it was botched, to say the least. And I'm trying to be very diplomatic with my words, because quite a lot of this before the courts at the moment, and sub judice, so I wouldn't want to...
Are you one of those in court?
No, I'm not in court. I'm not
right.
in court.
Why aren't you in court?
It wasn't going to be worth it for me. I'm in this to see if it's possible to serve my people, to take my people out of darkness and into light. And going to court...
Yeah, but part of the process of taking
Yes.
your people from darkness into light
Yes.
is seeking justice and
Yes,
making sure that things are done properly. That's the problem with Nigerian politics. Things aren't done properly.
Yes, I agree with you, but technically, if I had gone to court, I would have been in court rather than sort of moving in a different direction to see if I can actualize my ambition. Because if my hands are tied in court, you can't be doing two things at the same time. So let whoever feels more aggrieved.
But at least let's know what happened in the APC from your point of view.
Okay, from my point of view, like I said, 14 of us contested, and we paid the fees, nomination fees. And,
you mean 14 of you were supposed to contest, or you actually contested?
No, supposed to contest. I mean,
right. Okay.
We're saying the same thing. And quite frankly, I'm sure everybody would have been aware of what happened. A result was announced, to put it mildly. And I wasn't going to start going against APC, because fighting APC has never been what I came out for. Rather, trying to actualize my ambition of being the candidate of my party.
But you were disappointed.
Oh, very much disappointed, to say the least. Very much disappointed. But life goes on. I mean, John Lennon once said that life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans.
Yeah, but just explain to us how it unfolded for you when you suddenly discovered that, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be running for the candidacy, and I'm no longer in the running.
All right, okay. I was no longer in the running just about a week ago. The primaries were to have been held on the 26th of June, more than a month ago. But I came to vote. My kids came to vote. They had the vote, members of APC, and they never got to vote. Okay, like I said, what happened at the primaries now before the courts. I wouldn't come on live TV studio to give evidence that should be available to the court.
Yeah, but you're not in court.
But the election, to put it that way, there was no, my kids couldn't vote, I couldn't vote. But the rest is history, as they say.
Right, and after you discovered that you couldn't vote, what did you do?
We tried as much as possible to see if there could be a consensus. We've been meeting. I've been in Abuja for the last 4 weeks. We've actually been holding Abuja all that time. We've been trying to see if the crisis can be sort of contained and resolved, but it became very close, very obvious to me on Thursday of last week that we had gotten to the end of sort of that crisis mediation or whatever arrangement, and that wasn't going to work. So it was now time to move on.
Right. What was the reason that was given to you? Because I mean, we all sort of try to think in a linear fashion. So I mean, 1 + 1 is 2 sort of thing. What was the reason that was given to you for the fact that a primary that was supposed to have held didn't hold?
Okay, in politics, 1 + 1 is never 2.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a politician, and thankfully,
yeah. In
not.
politics, 1 + 1 is never 2, especially
Yeah.
In the Nigerian context. The constitution of the country, of the Electoral Act, says that it is the political party that nominates their candidate. So, if the political party says it is Charles Aniagolu, who was not part of the process, INEC will be bound to accept that. If you feel aggrieved, you go to court. Right. So it is the political party's right to say who the candidate is, not my right, not as my aspirant. So if they say it's not me, and even if it's unfair, I can't challenge it.
Yeah, but they must have given a reason. I mean, did they say that, having looked at all the candidates, we don't think any of you cut the muster, so we're going to give it to this person? I mean, didn't they say something to you?
No such reason was given.
Right, so what was the reason that was given?
Because if you were going to go that way, there was no point in opening up the process and getting people to buy the forms.
So what was the reason that was given?
No reason was given.
Right.
Yes, no reason was given.
We just decided that, sod you, we're going to do what we want.
No reason was given. That's what I can say. No reason was given at all.
Right, okay. So you had been spoken of as standing a very good chance of winning that primary ballot, and then it all went south. I mean, so crushing disappointment, basically.
Of course it was. When you look at politics in Nigeria, the way it is played, the conventional politicians and the average voter wouldn't have thought Ben Etiaba stood a chance because he wasn't a money bag, he didn't speak that language. But for the more discerning, they saw an aspirant that was different, an aspirant that had the right message, an aspirant that had enough creativity and vision and integrity and experience to move Anambra State in the right direction, completely in a different direction. And yes, I stood a chance because there were enough people that bought into that message.
And you have political pedigree, don't you? I mean,
yes, but I
your mother was a governor.
Yeah, she was a governor, the first female governor in Nigeria, and the only female governor in Nigeria. But Charles, I have to say this to you. Just like your father was in the Supreme Court, you're not who you are because of what your father achieved. I ran, and I'm still running based on who I believe I am, not because I'm Ben Etiaba's son. So yes, whereas I'm proud of her, and proud of what she has achieved in life and in politics, and for women of Nigeria, I want to think that I'm running because I have something to offer, and not just because I'm the son of Mama Anambra.
So your hope is essentially that you hope, and the operative word is hope. Your hope is that you hope to reach an electorate which you hope has gone off APGA, the APC, and the PDP. Does that sound a bit like a forlorn hope, given the way Nigerian politics
No,
works?
not at all. Not at all. You mentioned a lot of hopes, and you're putting it a different way that I had actually never looked at it as. If you look at the politics of Anambra State, you'll find that it's not just a two-party politics. Anambra is predominantly PDP. But for the last 16 years, we've had APGA governors, including my mother. Okay?
So that means it's not predominantly PDP.
No, predominantly PDP. No, funny enough, PDP members have always elected APGA governors. Pure and simple. Because all the senators have always been PDP.
Right.
House of Reps, PDP. In fact, but when it comes to the governorship election, as it's happening now, they are never able to come together to elect a governor. So they hand it over to APGA. So I was in APC, hoping that they will do the same thing, but this time, because APGA, to me, had come to the end of their, tenure, usefulness, that APC was going to benefit, and I was going to be the candidate that would benefit. So Well, the point I'm making is the three major parties in Anambra State, APGA, they have a major crisis. You're aware of it. Soludo is the candidate, Umoji is the candidate. We're not sure who the candidate is. I'm not interested in that. In PDP, somebody emerged. The rest, the front runners, all left him. Okay? In APC, we've been talking about. So the major parties have a problem. I give you this prediction.
So you think by default,
yes, let me give you this prediction.
there might be a third way or a fourth way?
Not even by default. Logic and proper reasoning tells me that the next governor of Anambra State will be from one of the smaller parties and somebody who has never played politics before. And I have a historical reason for that. And can I?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Since the creation of Anambra State as it is, we've had 5 governors. All of those 5 governors won the governorship election the first time they attempted. Governor Ezefe was the first governor. First time he attempted the governorship seat, he won it. In 1999, Governor Mbadinuju attempted for the first time and won it. In 2003, Dr. Chris Ngige attempted for the first time and was declared the winner. Peter Obi took over in 2006. For the first time he was contesting and he won. He was declared the winner. My mother never contested any governorship election and she became governor. After that, Peter Obi came back, because she handed over, she didn't contest for that. The judgment was vacated. So His Excellency Governor Peter Obi came back and reclaimed his mandate, rightfully so. After that, Governor Willie Obiano, present incumbent, the present governor, not present incumbent, present governor, never played politics in his life, came for the first time and won it. So Anambra has always elected a candidate contesting for governor the first time. What will be different this time is that not just will a first timer win, but that first timer will win with a very minor party that no one has ever heard of. And like you said in your intro, I am waiting to break some good news in the next few days, but I can't speak until INEC has.
Well, stay with us. We want to talk with you some more. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat with Ben Etiaba, Anambra State Governorship Aspirant. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Aniagolu. Now let's continue with another installment of our dialogue with Nigeria's political aspirants, assessing their chances as Nigeria prepares for elections, first in Anambra State in November and elsewhere in the country over the next 18 months or so. My guest today is Chief Ben Etiaba, who's lost the governorship slot he thought he had a good chance of securing in the APC party for the Anambra election in November. But even though he's now left the APC, he remains undeterred and is hoping to form a new alliance with a yet-to-be-disclosed political party with an alternative political compass, but one that would give him the chance to still take part in the Anambra ballot as a governorship candidate. And Chief Ben Etiaba is still with me in the studio. Thank you for staying with us. And you were giving us a bit of a fascinating lecture about the way that, not so much a lecture, but
I know what you mean.
Telling us how Anambra governors have sort of evolved. But in your case, it can be said, can it, that you are in a sort of political wilderness at the moment, and you're floating free, but looking for an anchor by way of a political party.
Charles, aren't you a wordsmith?
Well, I mean, I'm simply trying to see what best matches your rather precarious political position at the moment.
No, I think what I'm doing is more articulated than that. And it's possible that nobody has done it before, especially in Anambra State, but it's always the first time. And once we see the results I'm able to achieve, it is possible that this might be the way to go in future. Because we can't...
In other words, you go into the main political parties, make a bit of noise, don't get the candidacy, and then you take off to a smaller party. Is that what you mean by setting a new trend?
I tell you this. When I decided I was going to do this, and by the way, I decided many years ago, and so I prepared myself. Because part of the problem we have with leaders is that people get into office unprepared. So I knew I was going to do this as far back as September 2001. Yeah, that long ago. So I chose different leadership roles. Some of the things I did, I'm sure you're aware of. And when it now came to the crunch time, I stayed away out of politics before now, because there are two ways you can prepare. You can either prepare, you can either go through the political route. In other words, you contest to be a councillor, a local government chairman, or a commissioner, House of Assembly, House of Reps, or Senate. I abandoned all of those because I wanted to prepare myself outside of politics, despite the fact that I'm from a political family like you described. And the reason for that was quite simply this, to sort of train myself, equip myself in the art of leading the people, especially leading selflessly, okay? All the roles I took on before now were not paid for, okay? So I'm not somebody who has, sort of done politics to make money. Or I've never done any government contract in my life, despite the fact that most of the governors have been my friends. I've never asked for any allocation of any sort in my life. So I prepared outside of politics because I wanted to come into politics with a new set of values. I wanted to come into politics seeing things that the average politicians can't see, because they're all, sort of mired in the whole mess. Now, having done that, when the time came, I had to now look back. Of course, I studied Anambra State. I lived in the state. And I thought of the political platforms. Which of the platforms offered me because I never belonged to any political party, despite the fact that my mother was Mama Abga, Mama Anambra. So I thought, which of the platforms will offer the best chance of winning the governorship? And I looked at Abga. I thought after 16 years, we're seeing the implosion will happen. So that was out of the... I looked at PDP. Like I said earlier, Anambra is predominantly PDP. Forget about what's been happening in the governorship. They elect every governor. I thought PDP will implode once again. They do that every 4 years, and it's happening. So I was correct in both predictions. Where I was wrong was in believing that APC, that nobody thought of as a possible party that can win in Anambra, was going to implode as well. To me, this is a self-inflicted, unnecessarily self-inflicted political wound. So I didn't foresee that. I went to APC, knowing that APC was not popular, but that with the right candidate, a reasonable candidate, and if the aspirants and the party remained united after the primaries, that we will win. So I was positioning myself to be that candidate that the party will use to go and win a general election, not rig, but to win a popular election. And that, to me, sort of thinking could have worked. So I chose APC. My friends couldn't understand it for obvious reasons, but I was hopeful that I wasn't gambling. I was hopeful that things were going to pan out the right way.
And then you were let down by the party.
I was let down.
But we all know that most of these smaller parties don't stand the slightest chance of coming even close to winning anything on the governorship level, and are merely there, as one critic put it, to constitute a pestilential logistical nightmare for the Electoral Commission, INEC.
No.
So what's the point? No. I mean, you've articulated, and clearly you come across as a very credible potential candidate, but
no, Charles,
the wrong party, I suppose.
No, not at all, not at all. A few years ago, Labour Party, never before heard of party, won in Ondo State. Okay, there are other examples too. A small party can win, and if you listened to, or if you remember my analysis just a few minutes ago, I'm predicting that a small party will win this time because of the implosion in those other major parties. But I'll also say this to you. It is not the party that wins any election, not at all. Party is just a mere vehicle. It is the candidate that wins the elections. So if Charles Aniagolu is the person we want to elect, and he is in XYZ party, you will find that credible politicians will abandon those.
Yeah, but the question is, do they want to elect you? I mean, you're saying if this person is the person. I mean, you've told us that you haven't really been involved in politics.
Yes.
Even though you've also given examples of other politicians who went at it the first time, but they were, I mean, pretty much part of the political fabric before they then got to run for office.
Not really. The last two were not. Peter Obi was never in politics, never joined any political party before. In fact, his first political party he joined maybe 6 months before he became governor.
But was he then anointed by the?
No, he was not.
He was not. The kingmaker.
Not at all. Not at all. What happened was that he articulated properly, just the same way I've done. And he was lucky, it worked. Right. And mine is not over, by the way. And also, let me also tell you, Willie Obiano, His Excellency, the current governor, never played politics at all. In fact, was away from the shores of Nigeria, was invited to come and contest. So you don't have to be in the system to, sort of get the thing.
Well, I have to say it's certainly very encouraging to see that you're clearly still full of vigor in spite of the things that you went through at the APC.
Yes, but let me tell you why. I believe that power is very spiritual. It's not a physical thing. There are a lot of spiritual forces that conspire to elect people into offices. So, and if you believe that, you will know that all you have to do is do your best and leave the rest to God. And I believe that sincerely. That if the gods favor you, then you get it.
Right. But given you said you were never in any political party, you joined it, and you were met with what you experienced in the APC in Anambra State. You've done a brilliant analysis of the political parties and so on. Do you now believe that there should be a third way in Nigerian politics beyond, on a national level, beyond the two dominant models of the APC and the PDP?
Okay, the truth of the matter,
and we've got a minute less.
The truth of the matter is that the third party never really works in any democracy. Look at the UK. You have the Conservatives and the Labour Party. Then you have this Social Democrats, or I don't know what they're called.
The Liberal Democrats.
Liberal Democrats. They never can determine. They might sometimes hold the balance of power. So it's always about two parties. If you go to the US, you have the Democrats.
But it's not the same on the state level.
Yes. But if you go to the US, you have virtually two parties, the Republicans and Democrats, okay? In the state level, especially in Anambra State, you have three parties, okay? So am I advocating that you should have a third party all the time? If democracy works well, do you need a third party? If the internal democracy is practiced the way it should be, you don't need a third party. You ventilate, but the fact is that these people, sort of close in. It's a cabal, and you're not going to let
Well, we wish you all the very best. Chief Ben Etiaba, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, John.